Hey dudes, happy Tuesday to all of you. I hope you're doing super well. I'm getting a bit of a sore throat, so if my voice cracks in this episode from Faenza, then just bear with me. I'm sure it will pass. Um, Everyone's still pissed off. We're still making money, and our plans are moving in a generally positive direction. But I think it might be time to shift some guys away from this deal and over to this engine deal. I'm a little bit tentative about it for obvious reasons, but at the same time, we know last year we missed out on a works deal by the skin of our teeth, so I'm going to boost this and hope for the best. Looks like we've got a pretty decent score actually on the old hospitality for this Grand Prix. We don't really have the money to spend, but let's take a chance like ABBA. So again, we're going to focus on our main friendly partners. We want to try and win ourselves some love. Money can't buy you love, but a free trip to the Canadian Grand Prix might just do it. Over on the staff front, obviously we have all our contracts tied up, which makes us happy. We've also done a bit of staff signing, so that's pleasing. I'm going to give it one more round. Hopefully we can finish this first design stage by the next round, or else we're going to be cutting it really rather fine. Spare parts are next on the menu. To my knowledge, we are still without any evolutions to our engine or race fuels. That is correct. So not really much for us to do at this stage except repair the cars as best we can and see what we can do. Wow, we've got a lot of problems here. I'm going to drop some extra cash and complete us an extra spare part once my frames come back. That's an expensive spare part. I'm not happy about that, but we have damage on the car, and I really would rather not. 90% wear on Pedro Deniz's car is a very unsexy situation. For Takagi's car, we can get down to 24%. So none of our cars are in particularly good shape. I really don't want to be spending any more money. I really don't. We're already spending more than I would like because we're doing VIP work. I might reduce our expenditure a little bit here. Right then, let's see what we can achieve here. I'm fairly sure we're not going to pick up any cheeky points or anything, but onwards we must press because we need to make progress on the sponsorship deals, and we need to hope for a brighter future in 2000. The team has survived, and that's obviously the main thing. We do have an Evolution 2 intermediate tyre that will help in light rain conditions. Let's see what Canada holds for us. 26 degrees and light rain for qualifying, so that means the new tyres come out to play. Deniz's car is far too worn really to be particularly effective, but you never do know your luck. 14th and 17th. Takagi technically was outside the 107% limit, but he did get a pass from the stewards. The big names that we've lost are Fisichella and Barrichello, but of course the Prost and the Stewarts are very, very slow. We outqualified Ricardo Rossit's Tyrrell, and Pedro Diniz managed to outqualify both Arrows, which is pretty astonishing given Arrows' form this season. That said, though, maybe the Arrows is just weak in wet weather conditions. The other Tyrrell of Ralf Schumacher puts in a stonking lap to take 8th. Meanwhile, up at the sharp end, obviously it's wet weather, so the usual suspects. Michael Schumacher leading in his Williams. Alongside him will be Damon Hill's Ferrari. Quite a big gap, around half a second between the two. Jean Lacey lines up third next to Mika Hakkinen Sauber. Alexander Wurz, David Coulthard, Shinji Nakano, Ralf Schumacher, Eddie Irvine and Heinz-Harald Frentzen round out your top 10 for qualification. 20 degrees, strong wind and dry for your race in Canada. We will be doing a 35-34 lap split with our friend Tora. Let's just line that up. Obviously the tyres haven't been run due to the wet qualifying session. I'm glad we're running in the dry during the race. That should improve our chances of getting a finish of some description, but again, there's been no guarantees so far. Pedro Diniz has finished 2 laps down. Unfortunately, Toru Takagi was taken out by engine failure. Diniz finishing 2 laps down, even to Rosset, it seems. Obviously, on the 18 qualified to start. The win goes to Shinji Nakano out of nowhere and a 1:33.34990. 5-ish seconds clear of teammate Jean Alesi, so it's 1-2 for McLaren. Johnny Newhouse's Benetton takes third, and the final points go to Damon Hill's Ferrari, Johnny Herbert's Williams, and a single point to David Coulthard's Ferrari. Bit sad that Tora's car is now going to have damage as well, but hopefully he didn't put much wear on the machine and we can still make a comeback from that. In the Drivers' Championship, Jean Alesi sits atop the pile. I'm sorry, something just dropped off my table and distracted me. David Coulthard is second on 36 points. Shinji Nakano leaping up the order now sits on 33 magnificent McLaren points. Michael Schumacher drops down to 4th with 19. In the Constructors, McLaren extend their lead with that 1-2, 77 points to Ferrari's 49. Williams closing the gap a little on 30. We've still made a profit despite our best efforts. Again, though, we will be now stopping with the hospitality. Didn't really... Oh, wow, Oh, that's bad news. That's really bad news. We can now only get a partnership deal with Ford. That's really crappy. Wow, that sucks. We need to reprioritize quite promptly. That means we need to chase ourselves a... yeah, we can't get a works deal with Peugeot or Ferrari. Yeah, we're on a 2-season partner deal. Wow, that's going to set us back. That's really going to set us back. We're going to begin talking to Danker, and hopefully they can become a team sponsor for us. That really does suck. That means we've got another season in prospect in the financial doldrums. Oof. This really does make things difficult. Never mind, we will survive, much like Gloria Gaynor. We've managed to complete the first stage of design completely on next year's car. That's a positive, and we needed a positive. I needed a win. Let's drop some cash on the inevitable spare part extravaganza. Right, we need to talk strategy now. Obviously, we want to try and get this works deal in place with Mobile One. I honestly don't think it's going to happen, but I'm going to reach for it anyway. Again, I'm not even sure Danker are going to do much with us. This means we desperately need to ensure that we don't also lose out on the partner deals. We need to save this money now. The problem is this is going to take us right the way through to the end of our pay driver contracts, and we still will be fighting people to get our hands on a team sponsor. Our only hope now, to take a step forward in the near future, is to pick up one of the team sponsors that are free in 2001, and I don't see that as likely. I really don't. Winfried won't talk to us. We now can't get a work steal on any engine or tyre, so we have problems. We have problems. Between episodes, I'm going to think of a better way to proceed now. But for now, let's blindly press on. If one thing we have learnt, and only one thing, that is when in doubt, go racing. Wow, the damage levels make me unhappy. They make me very unhappy. But this is all part and parcel of managing Minardi. You're gonna have shit sandwiches to gulp down, and that's pretty much what's happening now. Cars 2 and 3 are the ones we have to worry about. We'll take the damage off car 2 and repair all the wear on car 3 as best I can. Nice. So car 3 is actually in perfect condition for Pedro, and Toro Takagi is running with 26% wear, which is comparatively little. We're not going to do any more hospitality, can't afford it. Not going to worry about hiring any more designers because that's an expensive habit like going to the dentist or crack. Let's see. I'm not going to turn anybody down because I'm not even sure it's going to make that much difference, to be frank. Still no new tyre compounds to play with. Again, it's going to be a fairly inane episode, but we'll get through them. We'll get through them. So 25 degrees and very dry for qualifying in France. I do miss Magny-Cours. I do. I think the French Grand Prix is something that we should have on the calendar, but that's a discussion for another time. What we need to do first is qualify our cars. 17th and 18th, pretty much flavour of the month. A massive 1.2 seconds off the back of Ricardo Rossit's Tyrrell. If you really do look at the delta there, the pattern makes a sad face. 30 degrees and cloudy for race day. That will reduce our engine power a little, comparatively. But that's the least of our problems right now, operationally speaking. Good job we've got the Deniz dollars that we can rely on. But it just means that we're going to be keeping our head above water. We're not really going to be taking any steps forward. I'll be honest, I've never been specifically this unlucky with the Minardi playthrough. Normally, I've been able to pick up a team sponsor for 2000. It doesn't seem to be the case this time. But that's the fun of this game, that's the beauty of it. There is a random element, there is variation between playthroughs, and I whinge and I complain and I say, oh, it's going to be difficult now, but you know what, I'm actually quite enjoying it, particularly because the Arrows playthrough now, while I still love it, just feels kind of like going through the motions each episode. Here, there's still a grand strategy element to work on, and I love having spanners thrown in the works. I do. 14th and 15th, we managed to finish though, which is the main thing, and we finished in front of both Prosts and the only remaining Stewart. The win goes to Michael Schumacher's Williams on a 1:35.29225. Jean Alesi takes second for McLaren. He's having a hell of a season, and Damon Hill takes the final podium position for Ferrari. The final points go to Johnny Newhouse, Johnny Herbert, and Heinz-Harald Frenzen's Benetton takes the final point. Jean Alesi continues to lead the Drivers' Championship. David Coulthard sits on second still. Shinji Nakano remains third, although Michael Schumacher's made a big gain, going from 19 points to a pretty solid 22. That brings him back into the fight for second place at least. In the constructors, McLaren have a 30-point advantage over Ferrari. Williams have closed the gap up to second. I think Benetton are pretty much out of the running, but it's a Williams-Ferrari fight for second position, and that could in itself be quite interesting. Okay, let's see. We're getting a little bit closer. We're getting a little bit closer. Nothing is happening with the Mobile One deal. They really don't like us for some reason. They really don't. 1.7 million a season from Danker is passable. It's not great, but if we can double it, I'll be a happy boy. Not going to make any more hirings. What we have to do though is keep an eye on. I'm going to give it another round in the CFD simulation phase for next season's car. That's definitely something that's going to happen. Still not spending on the VIPs because it just hasn't delivered for us. Really, it hasn't brought anything along. So it's been a mixed episode. There are some positives. I should point out there are some positives. It seems that the cars are not as difficult to maintain as I expected. I mean, sending a car out with 24% wear and the other one in fully perfect race condition is an improvement over where we were before. We have managed to grow the team and remain profitable, so there's definitely a positive to take away there. The only thing that's really concerning me, I suppose, is the year-on-year growth. I do like to see year-on-year growth. Now, if we come away with the Danker deal, then we do see year-on-year growth in terms of our overall sponsor budget, but it's just not enough to make a serious investment in the team. I think we will take a step forward year on year in terms of performance, but then we really have to work to maximise that. And I think it might be a good opportunity for us to go over some of the basic elements of the game again in more detail to have time for me to verbalise to you what my next moves are going to be. So, guys, I hope you've had an awesome start to the week. I am going to be back tomorrow because it's Wednesday, and Wednesday means Grand Prix World. And during that episode, we will be going over in depth an analysis of what's happened so far for the team, why that's happened, and what we're going to do to correct it. This is definitely recoverable. It just puts back our overall plan by a season or two. Please join me tomorrow, and most importantly, please do take care of yourselves and have an awesome time whatever you're doing. Bye bye now.